Welcome, everyone. We really appreciate your joining us tonight. My name is Lauren Wolfer. I am Outreach and Advocacy Director for COOK Alliance. We're a nonprofit that is dedicated to legitimizing the sale of homemade food through the MEHKO permit. And I'm sure if you're joined with us tonight, you're familiar with that, the Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen Operation Permit. But please visit our website, cookalliance.org. You'll find a lot of resources. We offer education, technical assistance, and a lot of support for home cooks. This webinar is part of our summer webinar series. We're featuring free monthly webinars designed specifically for MEHKOs. Our next one is coming up on September 9th, and that is going to be a panel discussion that includes MEHKO success stories. So we're going to have that panel announced soon. Please check out our social media, sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already. And just a couple of housekeeping notes. This is being recorded, so this will be available in the next week or so if you aren't able to stay for the entire presentation or you want to refer back. If you have questions, we're going to hold questions to the end to do a Q&A. So if you'll see at the bottom, there's that Q&A. Go ahead and type your questions into there. There's a chat available as well, but just use the chat if you have technical issues. Any questions should go in the Q&A box. And with that, I am so thrilled to be joined by Anna Sotto of Akitso. We've been working with Anna for, I think, maybe almost a year now, and it's really incredible the work that she's doing to support small food businesses. And and as you will see in this presentation, her design skills are incredible. So you guys are all in for a treat. She is a true expert, and I'm going to hand things over to her.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm really excited to share the space with y'all. I think everyone that's joining today is curious or interested in learning more, finding support on marketing their MEHKO, which is getting customers to find you and getting customers to keep coming back to you. And so, without further ado, let's get started. In the chat, who here feels pretty comfortable about branding marketing? Who actually likes it? If you can just go ahead and type if you can, so I can get a sense of everyone's mindset on marketing and branding. None. I like it, but new and busy. It's a lot of work. Not too confident, but want to learn. Novice, not strong. Hassle, need help. Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, I think with marketing and branding, it's a lot about having the right mind frame for it to feel like it's not icky, to feel like it's coming from like your heart, coming from a place of authenticity. And then it's also very much about capacity and bandwidth, actually having time to do a good job at it. So hopefully today we can A, work on that mindset, and then B, get you feeling a little bit more grounded and oriented so that it doesn't feel like you're just shooting from the hip. All right. So a little bit about me. My name's Anna. My parents started a restaurant, which was in business for 18 years. As a child, I saw the ups and the downs and learned firsthand not just the trials and tribulations of maintaining a good product, but navigating all the paperwork and the inspections and the marketing and the technologies, the trends and all that stuff. And so I ended up going to school for design and marketing, went through the design industry before starting Akitso, which is the nonprofit that really focuses on using design, branding, marketing as a way to level the playing field for independent food businesses. I think indie food businesses, MEHKOs especially, are so important to our culture and really important to, people just making a living while balancing things that they're really passionate about. All right, so what's branding? Can you in the chat say what you think branding is? Okay, I'm seeing that Jessica understands branding a little bit, but marketing is tough. We're going to link the two a bit together today, so hopefully that helps. Your style, yep. Recognition of your business, your story, what makes you compelling, making what you do clear and emotional. Yep. Don't know. Yep. Okay, let's keep moving. First, I want to distinguish for everyone here what the difference is between marketing a business and marketing a brand. So, a lot of you, started your business, and I'm sure through Cook Alliance and other programs that you've been going through, you're thinking about your business plan, what your products and services are, who your target audience is, and how to generate income and make it all feasible. That's super important. But what we're going to focus on today is that mindset about marketing a brand, which is all about shaping perception. It's, leading with who you are, what you represent, and creating that emotional connection through your personality, not your personality specifically, but your brand's personality, how it looks, how it sounds. And you're really focusing on building trust and loyalty through consistency and storytelling, both visually and through messaging. And instead of measuring short term sales conversions, which are important, you're measuring long term positioning and building brand equity. So I don't know how many have heard of brand equity, but brand equity is essentially a negative or positive value that people associate with your brand based on what they know about it. And so if you aren't consistently putting out a visual and a story that keeps reinforcing the same brand, you're not building that brand equity. And so you need both. And today we're going to focus on where to start with marketing a brand. All right. So a vast majority of consumers say that they would buy from a brand that they feel connected to over a competitor. If you're competing against a sea of competitors with no branding, you're just competing amidst pricing and availability and promotions. You're not really building loyalty or standing out beyond, just the pricing and the product. So I hope that emphasizes the importance on why we want to market both the business but also the brand. And so, where to start? It starts with your brand's DNA. So, I wonder if anyone in here has heard brand DNA. I know that when we often think branding, we're thinking logo, but today I'm going to kind of peel back a few layers and share, where that logo stems from and where you should be starting your thinking when you're thinking about branding and marketing. Okay, first time hearing it. Exciting. Okay, so let's see. So your brand DNA is a framework for one, rallying yourself to get excited about what you're doing, a framework for rallying your team to be consistent in what the brand represents, and then getting your audience to care about why you exist in the world. So before we talk about what the components of brand DNA is, I also wanted to share this theory of the golden circle. So there's a theory of value proposition by this brand strategist, and he argues that if brands were made of these concentric circles, like an onion, almost every organization knows what they do, right? Like what they sell, who they're selling to. He argues that even less know the how, which is how you're different from the rest based on what you create. The theory goes a step further, though, and suggests that very, very few organizations know why they do what they do. And why they do what they do should be a purpose or a reason that they exist beyond making profits. And having a compelling why is not only going to kind of get you excited to keep doing the work that you're doing, but also is going to be the crux of how you're going to get others to pick you when there's other competitors that might be selling similar things. So Airbnb, I think a lot of people probably know what Airbnb is. Their marketing leads with the why. So a lot of their marketing has to do with this why. We imagine a world where you can belong anywhere. So anyone in the chat not know what Airbnb is? So I think everyone's probably stayed at Airbnb, but this is what their marketing doesn't look like, even though we all know that it's an app, if you've heard of it. Their marketing campaigns don't lead with, yeah, we're an online platform that allows you to book short-term rentals in different places. Their marketing materials are all about belonging and traveling, and this is how they're able to compete with the hotels industry that has been a very established industry, and this is how they were able to stand out from all the competition. So my hot take is that the world doesn't need any more soulless businesses or brands. And so creating this brand DNA, which is why you exist and all the other elements around that, is going to help you turn your business into a brand with a lot of heart and soul, and then hopefully a product and service that people also want to join and be part of. So here's a brand DNA checklist. Um, I'm going to pause, let you look at this list for a little bit. Okay, so brand DNA includes mission, vision, values, personality, all these things. What I've done is added this brand DNA checklist and then sorted it in what's, how's, and why's. Okay, so let's start on the outer layer of this onion, the what, the part that everyone knows. Do you know what your offering is? What are your products and services? What is your food concept, right? Um, and then who are you selling to? Your target audience. You get 0 points if you're selling to everyone, because if you try to appeal to everyone, you're going to stand out to no one. And so, what's really important is knowing what you sell and to who specifically, and understanding um, your target audience both from their demographics, which is their location, their general age, and then also their psychographs, their buying behaviors, what their pain points are, etc. Then moving on to the how. So this is your business's unique approach. What sets your delivery apart from customers? And this includes values, principles that guide your brand's behavior, your personality, how your brand expresses itself and connects with the audience. I also want to pause here. Oftentimes, solopreneurs are creating a business that's very much based on their personal story. That's great. Something to keep in mind is, do you want your brand's personality to be exactly your personality, or are you creating a brand that is inspired by you but a separate entity? And if that's the case, you really want to think about, creating personalities and other things that aren't just an exact replica of you and your aesthetic preferences. We can get more into that later when we talk about visual identity. So back to the how list. You've got your values, your personality, you've got your key differentiators, what makes you stand out from your competitors, and then your brand promise. What can customers expect to get out of your business and brand every time they interact with you? And then the concept, which when you're thinking about the offering under the what, the concept under the how is, the bigger idea and the feeling that that offering or that product represents. Okay, now we're going to go into the inside layer, the why. So this is the deeper belief that is not about the product or tactics. It's very much about the meaning and the purpose, the why. So we've got your brand purpose, which is the reason that your business exists beyond making money. Your mission, what your brand is doing every day, including today, to accomplish that purpose. And then you've got your vision, which is the long-term goal that is the North Star towards where your brand is headed to. And then I've added here a brand archetype, which I'll talk about later. This is just a tool that kind of allows you to think of your brand as an entity, what it's trying to accomplish in the world, what its needs are, and then it'll help guide your marketing and your messaging as well. So you can take a screenshot of this brand DNA checklist if you haven't already. But I've also created a free resource guide which walks through all the elements in your brand DNA so that you can go at your own pace and think about all those elements on that checklist. And it's an editable PDF. So once you get through it, something that you can keep and hand off to designers if that's something that you're going to work with later. Um, and then just keep coming back to it every time you're adding a campaign or a menu or a product, just to make sure that everything that you're doing is cohesive in terms of a brand, not just a business. Oh, and if you want it, just email me. It's Anna@akitso.co, and I'm sure Cook Alliance team could share it. Okay, so personality. So we've talked about brand DNA, which is a framework for um, representing what your business stands for and represents as a brand. Personality is a way to personify your brand because a mission on its own is just a sentence that could be a little bit difficult to connect with. Personality kind of gives, like a something for your customers to interact with. So there is a framework that suggests all brands fit within one of these 5 personality types. Sincere, where your brand is mostly about being honest, friendly, down to earth. Example brands are Ben and Jerry's and Patagonia. They're very different brands, but they each represent like an expression of sincere. There's exciting, Red Bull and Glossier. There's competent, IBM and Toyota. Sophisticated, Chanel and Apple. And then rugged, Yeti and REI. So when you think about personality for your brand, you're definitely going to want to elaborate. You're going to probably want to pick 3 to 5 words that capture the personality of your brand if they were to be human beings. So think about your target customers and then think about your brand based on what your product is and based on who your consumers are, their pain points, their wants, their desires, their age. Think about the type of personality that your brand should have if you were to create like a relationship between the two categories. And once you think about that relationship, write down 3 to 5 words. It might be formal, intelligent, academic, innovative, right? That's like a very different personality that you're interacting with versus a personality type that is vibrant, energetic, messy, reliable. After those probably don't go together, but and then beyond that, you can also think of these 5 personality types where your brand belongs, and this kind of helps give you like another way to think about your brand as something that people can interact with. All right, so 2 ice cream brands everyone here is probably aware of. They both sell ice cream, but their brands are very different. You can see in the flavor names, right? Ben and Jerry's has the Tonight Dough, which is a play on words of the Tonight Show, the comedy show. Then there's Haagen-Dazs, whose flavors are more like Belgian chocolate, strawberry, salted caramel. Then you can go on their website and read their copy. You'll see Ben and Jerry's copy. Read new, bigger flavors are perfect for sharing. We love making ice cream, but using our business to make the world a better place. Haagen-Dazs will be more like there's a moment of slow in every bite, best enjoyed slowly but surely. And then you could see the images, right? You've got Ben and Jerry's, which has an adult hand and a kid hand. It's very casual in a kitchen. And then you've got on the right Haagen-Dazs ice cream in really fancy glassware. You've got a fancy hand holding a gold spoon with red nail polish. And two comments on this. One, this is expressions of a certain personality that they're trying to create for these brands. You could see Ben Jerry's is more, well, I'm gonna put on the next slide what it is, but Ben and Jerry's is one way, Haagen-Dazs is another way. And the second point is if you look at the logo fits part of that personality, but something that I really want everyone here to understand is a brand and its marketing pieces are going to be so much more than just the logo. The logo needs to fit with everything else, but you're really going to communicate messaging, feeling, personality, value from a combination of all these elements, which is why I'm taking the time to kind of really go from like a foundation of branding so that we could talk about effective marketing. Okay, Ben and Jerry's. Personality type is sincere, and personality traits are playful, quirky, activist, ethical. If anyone disagrees and feels like that is not what they got from the photos, put it in the chat. Um, but this personality type also relates to their mission and their values. So let's see. Compared to Haagen-Dazs, their personality type is sophisticated, and their personality traits are luxurious, sophisticated, indulgent, innovative. And again, these are drawn from their mission and their values. So my point today is you could be another ice cream brand in a world of many, many ice cream brands. You're going to want to develop a brand DNA, and then you're going to want to turn that brand DNA into a personality and more. And we'll get into that. So, the and more visual identity. Um, Personality on its own, is not as strong. When you meet somebody, if you know just their name, you're not going to know very much. If you hear them talk and what they talk about, you're going to know more. If you see the way that they dress, you see the way their house aesthetic is, you learn more and more. So this is kind of the same metaphor for when you're building a brand around your products and your business. So visual identity. Okay, so visual identity is a system. It's like an ecosystem for your brand. It, yes, includes the logo, but it also includes the color palette, the typography or the fonts, the imagery style, the graphic elements, the layout styles, and then voice integration, which is like if you look on a piece of paper, even though when you think of copy, you're thinking of messaging, in some ways it really does affect your visual identity because words really create a certain type of like visual look too. Like if you see a big poster that says, hello, good evening, or like good evening, right? Versus a big piece of paper that's designed and it says, hey, exclamation mark. That contributes to the visual identity as well. So your visual identity, which is drawn from your brand's DNA and includes its personality, then gets funneled consistently and effectively across all of your brand touch points. So you can think digital brand touch points, such as the website, social media, email marketing, to your print, your printed brand touch points, which might be like the menu, your signage, your packaging, your flyers, your business card, your uniforms, to environmental things, your storefront. I know that we're MEHKOs, but the interior. So the takeaway is the more consistent you are and thoughtful and intentional about all of this, the more effective you will be in building this brand equity, right? And, part of being consistent is also making sure that like the DNA, the product offering, and all of that is a good basis to create this identity from. Okay, so let's see. Let me check on time. 6. Okay. So I have 3 examples of food businesses and a visual identity system in action. So we have Chipotle, fast casual. Um, this is how their logo, their colors, their textures on their packaging, their illustration style, their typography on their website. You're seeing like a sans serif font, which is oftentimes cleaner, more modern. So maybe they're trying to be a fast casual chain that is a little bit more modern. You're seeing reds and burgundies, which are a little bit vibrant, but still earthy. They're using brown and they're using um, paper bags and really basic textures. I think they've got interest in using like clean ingredients and then also respecting the environment. Okay, Kava, they are DC based. I know there's a Kava, they're all over the country. They recently went through a rebrand. So on the bottom is the previous branding, and on the top is the new one. And if you go on their website and you look at their imagery style, their product offerings, their typography style, you can see that they're rebranding to appeal to a younger audience, probably Gen Z, um, who aesthetically prefers like more maximalist, like busy, crowded, energetic layouts and colors, things like that. So that's interesting. And then here's a restaurant in Los Angeles. It's a Filipino restaurant. You could see it's a little bit more boutique. They're going for more unique colors and color combinations. It's pretty simple and basic, which usually creates more of a like boutique, refined type of branding. Okay, so those are 3 examples of how all of those work together to create a brand. And so now we've talked about brand DNA, visual identity, the branding stuff. Let's switch gears into marketing. All right, so here is a very condensed roadmap on using marketing to attract customers and retain them. So let's jump into it. So, phase 1, now that you have a product offering that you're really proud of, and now that you've taken the time to create this brand DNA around that product offering, now it's about how do we connect all of that to your target customers, like very specific group of customers, so that they can find you. So here are just 9 pretty basic tips. 1, know exactly who you're selling to, right? Know your target audience, understand their decision-making process, and know what their pain points are so that you could position your product, your brand, and your messaging to solve them. Number 2, create irresistible offerings. So make sure that your food concept is aligned with your target audience's pain points. So let's say you're doing Mexican food. Okay, dive deeper. It's a specific dish from from what your grandma used to make that was passed on from her grandma and then her grandma. And then, you're preserving culture and you're offering this to a target audience that really, really values culinary tradition, um, things like that. So making sure that there's alignment there. You wouldn't want to be a brand that stands for tradition and appeal to a target audience that likes exciting innovations and things like that. I'm sure there's like an artful way to kind of find a middle ground, but in general, we want to look for like a pretty clear alignment. You should do some research and ideation about what your unique selling point is and what your value proposition is, which is beyond just serving delicious X. You're the only one in the game that does it this way. And then, two, like in addition to eating this delicious recipe, you're also providing them with what value? Maybe it's the value of convenience, maybe it's the value of connecting to their roots, maybe it's the value of connecting to their local neighborhood. Those are all part of the offerings. Number three, build the right brand around your offerings. So you know what a brand DNA is and what a visual identity is. Is it aligned, right? Does it make sense for the product that you're offering? Does it make sense to the audience that you're reaching? And then beyond just the concept, let's say that the concept aligns, making sure that the execution is also, a good one. Number four, exceptional first time experience and making sure that it's repeatable. I think being a solopreneur, there's a lot to handle and making sure that you're systemizing things as much as possible so that people can experience consistency in quality of product, quality of service. This might include, thinking about your hospitality design, like how guests pick up. You're not allowed to have like a signage of your brand on the outside, but there's like things that you can do, such as, put like a ambiguous red flag or decoration or something and saying like, oh, you could find the house, the unit with this item or something. So there's little things like that that can add to a really pleasant first time experience as people experience you. You could create intro offers. You can refine the order process, both online and in person. And then you could think of really thoughtful follow ups so that people know that you really appreciate their business and that you're different from the local Chipotle because you're a human being and there's all these awesome benefits from buying from real human beings. And then number five, be easy to find online. I know that this could be stressful and overwhelming for some of you, but being online is so important nowadays. And think of it as convenience, in a world where people are just so easily ordering things with one click or two clicks online. You're competing with other options that are that easy. You have to invest in making sure that you're that easy to find online. And so that includes having some kind of basic website that people can land on. If you're not ready for a website, making sure that you're on directory listings such as like Yelp, Google Business, like the Cook Connect, IFSI platforms, um, social media channels, which can kind of act like a website if you're not ready for a website yet, articles, blogs. Not only should you be online, you should try to be social online if you can. I know that bandwidth is a tricky thing, but you want to make sure that your that your social media is following a content strategy that is rooted in the brand DNA that we talked about earlier. Um, Work with influencers and collaborators to get your name out there. Number seven, be active in real life too. So don't underestimate, making partnerships with schools and libraries, community organizations and institutions, being at events, being on online forums, create campaigns and incentives that encourage word of mouth and referrals. You're competing against brick and mortar places where there's foot traffic. So you really need to create that word of mouth traffic. And then finally, build strategic partnerships. Again, with low foot traffic, because you're in your home, you can offset this by cross promoting and complementing local businesses and their offerings. So let's say you do a type of pastries, maybe you find partnerships with coffee shops that don't sell food. Um, and I know you can't sell there, but maybe leaving like a stack of flyers there with, 10% off or something like that. Um, you can do like meal plan subscriptions with your local gym. Maybe you can work out a deal with like real estate companies, with gifts, welcome home gifts, things like that. You could be really creative based on what your product is, who your target audience is, and what types of local businesses are in your neck of the woods. So, okay, phase one is about getting people to try your food. Phase two, retaining them. So turning your first time buyers into loyal customers that keep coming back. And so there's five more things. Amazing interior design hospitality experience. I think the more pleasant it is for people to interact with you physically, the more they're gonna want to come back. If parking is bad, the entrance is meh, like it could be easy to forget that experience. So the more memorable you can make it, the more that you're stacking the cards in your favor for them to come back. Create loyalty and rewards programs. This could be a physical punch card, or it could be like a digital system. If you research some platforms out there, maybe you could create like a rewards programs where top customers are getting a certain gift every month. Number 12, build community. So collect their emails, collect their phone numbers, create a system where you're able to access it for campaigns. So if you're going to do like an email marketing campaign or an SMS text messaging campaign, make sure that you're collecting people's info so that you could reach them and remind them about you. Engage on social media. Once you post something, check who's commenting, respond to them, ask questions on your posts, like try to make it a dialogue and a conversation so that it's more of a relationship than just a bulletin board. Because when it's just a bulletin board, you won't know if it's working or not, right? Um, Local media, press coverage. It's always nice to research local food awards, foodie blogs, and see how you can get featured on them. And then 14, track and adjust your efforts. So, one thing when thinking about marketing is if you're just simply passing flyers out, simply just posting social media posts out, it's going to be a never-ending job because you can probably do that every day, all day, forever. What is going to really help you understand if it's working or not, if it's worth your time or not, is setting goals and knowing how to measure them. That way you can tell, okay, these posts don't work. I don't need to do them. Or these posts don't work. I can do them better, etc. So you can do this by monitoring your website traffic. So if you have a website, you can use Google Analytics to figure out how many people are coming to your website, right? And then once you get fancy, you can figure out how are all the different ways that I could point people to my website. Then you can get even fancier and use tracking codes to tag exactly how people are getting onto your website to be able to track the best channels to get people onto your website. So that's one thing, that's just website traffic. Then there's social media engagement, right? How many people are sharing, reposting, commenting, and then, of course, sales data. So I think if you're the more digital your business is, for instance, taking orders online, either through a website or like a like Square, POS, things like that, you're going to be able to track all of this data. I hope it doesn't sound scary. It's really just clarity because the more you can read, the numbers, the more you're going to have more creativity to design these campaigns to meet like very specific money goals. Um, and yeah, in marketing that doesn't work, you should just adjust it. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes left. 6 commonly missed opportunities when it comes to branding and marketing. Branding and design that doesn't align with the food concept, not aligning social activity or marketing with business objectives, ignoring your local networks and collaborations, doing it alone, right? Not encouraging word of mouth because if people really like it, they shouldn't keep it to themselves. 5, not collecting and using customer contact info. If people don't come back, sometimes it's not because they don't like you. It's just because there's so many options out there and all those marketing or sorry, all of those options are actively marketing at the same target audience. So you need to make sure that you're also reminding them that you exist. And then 6, not building buzz through seasonal and promotional strategies. So you might have a really great menu, but if you're not innovating regularly, then A, people might get bored, and B, you're going to run out of things to post. Let's see. I think this is the final concept, but we've talked about brand DNA, some marketing strategies to attract and retain customers, common missed opportunities. And then the last thing I want to leave you here with is I talked about, the world doesn't need another soulless, heartless brand. Have a brand DNA that gives you heart. And then think of your brand as a wheel. And this wheel is made up of all these elements. If these elements are balanced and in tune, your wheel is going to roll forward like smoothly. Anytime these elements are out of balance, you're going to experience friction. So, in the downtime that you probably don't have, think about all of these elements and think about what the concept is. Is it strong? And then think about execution. Is it living up to the concept that you had perfectly devised? So, I go into how to use this alignment wheel in depth in that free resource guide if you're interested. But think about you as part of the brand story, right? Your values, your story, the offering, the visual identity, the voice and messaging, the target audience fit, the customer experience, the marketing channels that you're using, and the types of content that you're putting out there. And then, of course, the price point, and then the price point as it relates to the perceived value. And all of that should really be guided by your brand DNA and your North Star. So please spend some time on that too. Okay, so
Wonderful.
Q&A.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was incredible. And I have to say, it's like not
Of
only
course.
is like this really great advice, but like I just love the way that you present this information. It's really, really beautiful. So let's see. We have some questions. If you have questions, please just go ahead and use the Q&A. I see we have a question on like how to juggle all of this while also cooking meals. So I guess we could also look at that as like, what would you recommend if people are really limited in time? Like, what's like the best thing to focus on?
Mm, that's a tough one because I specialize in design, but I'm also a small team and an entrepreneur. And I'm telling you how important social media is, but I don't have the bandwidth to fully do the job that I know that deserves. So, grounded in the real world, you need to do it, but if you can't do it, find some help, right? I reached out to SDSU students looking for interns. There's different programs out there. I think there's like a UPBI Urban Poverty Business Initiative where they match, you go through training and then they match you with an intern. Um, but yeah, I think looking for interns is one way to do it, or we definitely do some help on this. I could probably give you more specific pointers if we have like one-on-one where you're at.
We did
Um,
have a question about that actually, that if someone wanted to book a session with you, how would they do that?
let Take my email and just reach out to me. I'll figure something out. I've positioned my offerings to be like this package scope of work and this package scope of work, but I think I can make something work where I can offer some time to do one-on-one just like advice. So please just email me and then let me think on it between now and when I get your email.
Great. And then I have another question about like social media platforms. Like, how should I choose which one to use or which one makes sense for my business?
I think it depends on your target audience. If you're targeting Gen Zers, definitely TikTok and some Instagram. If you're targeting millennials, definitely Instagram and maybe some TikTok. If you're targeting older generations, probably Facebook. But know that, Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same parent. So there's a way where you can post on Instagram and then just check mark also post on Facebook. Um, so when thinking about social media, it can get really overwhelming if you're thinking about what do I post on this platform and what do I post on this platform. One way to think about it is social content strategy. So, social media, before you get overwhelmed with algorithms and things like that, that I can't even keep track of, it's about being social with your target audience. So, where is your target audience at? You can research it based on demographics. Um, Find what brands they're already following and then like the same people in the competitor set. Um, and and then create a social content strategy that can be shared across different platforms because you're still talking to your one audience, whatever that platform is, if that makes sense.
Got it. That's a great answer. And then we have another question about, could you recommend AI tools or sites that could help? This
Um,
person mentioned they just used Canva this morning to create a website quickly.
yeah, I think I saw like I'm not familiar with all the like one-stop shop, you can create a website in this way, but I know like ChatGPT, you can definitely have them suggest like a content calendar for you. And you could probably get them to create a logo for you too. Just know that it's like an algorithm, like if you want your brand to come from the heart, work with a human being. But if you can't do that, because I know that's not always feasible, give it as much information as possible so they're not just drawing from, generic information. So if you have a brand DNA, you can copy and paste that and say use this brand DNA and create 10 10 social media types of content or things like that. And if you're going to have them work on a logo for you, share as much as you can about the things that you do know. And those things that you definitely should create yourself is the brand DNA. I really think the extent of using ChatGPT is to help you like wordsmith or like tweak it to better reach your audience, but some elements it really should just start like from you so that it's authentic.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, and then I have a question here. Do you know of any good food organizations in the Inland Empire that I should reach out to or join? And I know you're based in San Diego, but maybe you could give some general advice too about like kind of finding, these organizations in your area.
Like food similar to Akitso, you mean? Is what the question is asking?
Um, I'm not sure. So it's a good food organizations. So maybe
Hmm.
like slow food, like that kind of thing. I know so I used to be based in the Inland Empire. They have the Food Systems Alliance, but I think that slow food might have some chapters as well. Anna, have you had any luck kind of like connecting with other orgs like in San Diego?
In San Diego, yes, San Diego Food System Alliance. Do you folks know? San Diego Food System Alliance has like a pollinator program. I'll type it here. San Diego Food System Alliance is a really good one. They're all about promoting small scale food entrepreneurship too. Oh my gosh, sorry, pollinator. Um, I did my nails, they're long and I can't type, so uh, yeah, I'm sorry I don't have specific organizations in Inland Empire, but if you want to follow up with me via email, I could try to troubleshoot more specifically and help you look for what you're looking for.
And then I have a question about how often should I include my personal story when I'm posting about my food?
Um, I think, okay, well, social media, I think it's a mix. So there is a really cool brand called strongbrandsocial.com, and they have these webinars that sometimes they have these really big sales for. There's one webinar called F the Algorithm, and I take like my advice about social media content strategy from from the knowledge that they shared. And they give like a pretty great rundown of your social content strategy. It should always be tied to one of three specific business objectives. One is, I think it's like demand generation. Another one is conversion. And then the other one is loyalty retention. Stories about like the founder helps on the third bucket, which is about retention, like getting people to feel that human side of it. And I think they assign like specific percentages for each category for a brand new business. I think it's like 50% should be in the demand generation, the first one, and then like 20% focused on conversion, and then 50, 80, and then 20% on loyalty. So like about 20% of your content, but I think the percentages change if you're an older business. So let's say Ben and Jerry's, the ice cream brand, they're probably going to have greater content focused on the loyalty aspect because they're already established and they just want to keep maintaining that.
Okay, great. And I think we have time for just one more. So let's see. We have, do you recommend paid ad campaigns or do you prefer social media and organic campaigns?
I think organic and social media campaigns for sure, unless you have tons of money and a team that knows what they're doing with the paid advertisements. I think the priority as you're building your business, especially if you're bootstrapped, is investing that time into the brand DNA, defining who your target audience is, and just trying to reach out to them through social media by following the brands that they follow and then just trying to do what you can with your content to reach them specifically. I think the paid ads word, you're casting this very wide, untargeted net, and it might not necessarily result in qualified customers that end up buying from you. But I think it's definitely worth it once you've kind of gone past all the basic steps and you have some money to work with.
Great. Well, thank you again, Anna. This has been so incredibly helpful. I am going to put in the chat real quick our events page so people can check on that to see about our next webinar and sign up for that. And then I am also going to put Anna's email address one more time. I know we have put this a few times in the chat, but make sure that nobody misses this. But yeah, thank you so much, Anna. And if you have any last words to wrap us up with, go right ahead.
Um, Keep at it. I know everyone in here has a lot of heart and soul. Um, I think you won't get to where you want to get to in one day, and I think your absolute best almost every day is definitely enough. So, thank you for sharing this space with me. I'm excited to connect with you. Please reach out so I could follow you and also be a resource to you if you need it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And good night, everyone. Thank you.